Hello and welcome to the Patron Saints of Pop Culture podcast. As always, I am your co-saint, Miguel Covarrubias.
And I am Kathy Covarrubias. And today, let's talk about Avengers Infinity War!
If you have not yet gone to see the movie, we are pretty on the ball this time. We did go on Friday morning to go see the movie. We got in there. So spoilers, of course, because we will be talking about the entire movie there. If you do not want to have any Avengers Infinity War spoilers, come back and listen at a later date.
Yes, because they have been very, very tight-lipped. I'm actually pretty surprised. Like, I haven't seen too many things on social media yet spoiling the end. So,
yeah.
Good job, everybody.
There have been some out-of-context spoilers on Facebook. There have been some pictures that people have been sharing, which, I mean, they wouldn't spoil it for you if you haven't seen the movie. But if you have, then you're like, oh, yeah, I know what this is referring to.
Yep.
This is our time for a summary and a brief review. So remember, if you don't want any spoilers, stop listening and come back and listen to us at a later date. My brief summary for this one is Thanos already has an Infinity Stone at the very beginning of the movie and continues his quest to gain all 6 Infinity Stones, which he does by the end of the movie, and then enacts the Avengers Rapture.
All right. So our Avengers are all still like spread across the universes, and then they somehow all come together. They put aside their differences to fight a common enemy, and then they meet some other wacky characters that join the Avengers as well too. They're also part of the Marvel universe. And they discover that they're on the same side and want to defend the whole universe. And they don't. Because they lose.
We will have to record a more full review of this for our Blessings and Curses for our Patreon-only subscribers. You'll have to donate $1 or something to hear those. But here's our brief review of this. My brief review was, it is the culmination of the entire 10 years of the MCU. It's very enjoyable on that front if you have been keeping up with the MCU, since there are so many things to keep up with. There are movies, there are TV shows. Did not watch The Punisher, although the most of the Netflix TV shows won't be really tying into this, I'm sure.
No, they might mention it, like in passing.
Yeah, which Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. did mention it in passing, which I think they may go deeper this next week, but we'll see.
I don't know. I feel like that's pretty weak sauce. They're just trying to brush it aside just to appease us nerds.
Yeah.
But anyway, so my review. I did enjoy it. It is not my favorite movie of the MCU. I would actually put it more towards the middle.
Middle?
Yeah, I would.
Okay.
Just because it didn't really, drive me emotionally at all.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that I'll just stick to that because I don't want to say too much more, but.
All right.
Yep.
Okay, so, I want to talk about Thanos, especially today, because what I saw in Thanos seems to be a very human trait. Something that we see a lot of nowadays, which is very stubbornly holding to one concept of fixing a problem.
Yep.
And with Thanos, it's especially because life has grown without restraint. And so when life grows without restraint, then it will consume all resources and will no longer be applicable to being contained within, a sustainable environment.
I mean, it's a common concern that people have on Earth.
Yes, considering with climate change and with a lot of the other things that are happening in our culture with boundaries. Let's say country boundaries. Saying the U.S. is the greatest country of all time or whatever. Once we've outgrown our borders, that's going to be a problem. A lot of Americans kind of go abroad, and that's kind of what they do. They spread American culture elsewhere, and it's kind of a growing beyond the borders kind of thing. That's the way a lot of people see it.
Yep.
And so the ways to curtail this are to keep immigrants away from their country, which the U.S. has been doing a horrible job of doing that recently. Not keeping them out, but wanting to keep them out is what I'm saying.
Yes, yeah.
Is that
we don't agree with that.
Yeah, we don't agree with that. That they are not. I mean, that's what makes America great, I think, is allowing immigrants in, is to getting that full mixing pot experience.
Yep, exactly.
And so I think really this is, I want to take it back to what I know best, is dispensational eschatology. A lot of big words to say. That theory of the end times, where people see it as split into dispensations, such as the rapture. This is most often seen by the evangelical and fundamentalist churches in the United States. This is a theory that came about in the 1900s by a pastor who was really not seen as the pinnacle of education, I would say.
Yeah, they tend to be like that in that, subculture of Christianity.
Well, considering that we just passed another prediction where April 23rd was supposed to be the last.
April 2013, I think, seems to be a very common date.
I don't know.
I feel like there was another rapture that was supposed to happen in another April 23rd.
I don't think so. Most of the time it's beginning of April and other things like that. But this is what I see, especially in the American evangelical. I'm combining the two words of fundamentalist and evangelical to save time here, but I didn't because I just explained it.
Yep.
But the evangelical view of dispensational eschatology, of viewing of the end times, of the rapture, is that this is a lot of why so many of them have embraced Donald Trump as their president, because they see him as dangerous enough to actually enact World War III, which they believe would force God's hand into enacting a rapture, into enacting the end times.
Yep.
Which I really feel is kind of a weird way of going about things, and they want it because they feel like it's the solution to the problem of the world, in their opinion, not meeting their moralistic expectations.
But it's also kind of funny, just to slip this in. It also says that the rapture is going to happen when you least expect it.
Nobody knows the day nor the hour of when.
No, so when they predict it, it's not going to happen. But anyway.
And this is the thing that we see in Thanos throughout the entire movie, is that he sees his one goal, and his one goal is to get all of the Infinity Stones so that he becomes like a god, so that he can, like God, just completely wipe out the existence of several trillion life forms across the universe, so that his whole idea of if there's less life, it will be less prone to exhaust the resources of the universe. Spoiler alert, you do see this happening at the end. He does snap his fingers and this happens. This does happen in the comic books as well. That, half of all life does get wiped out in an instance of him just snapping his fingers. This was the end of the movie. A lot of people were confused by this or something. And so there you have a lot of YouTube videos now saying, explaining the ending of the movie.
Which I don't know why there needs to be explaining.
Yeah, me either. And this is something that I think human beings are way too prone to be doing, is that they will take their actions into their own hands to force the hand of God, or to force the hand of a deity.
Well, they try to.
Yeah. And this is a concept called theurgy, which I actually just wrote about this week because I was writing a piece about Father Gabriel, where we talked about this last week, that episode of Father Gabriel, where he was saying, God will provide, and all of these coincidences happened. is I think this is the same thing with Thanos on the other end of things, is that he saw the actions that he needed to take to make this happen in a wide area rather than trying to force the deity to do the wide area effect.
Yeah. Or he himself became the deity.
Yeah. The becoming of the deity.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's a more of a ascending theurgy.
Sure. Yeah.
So we're just making stuff up now.
Yeah, we don't even know what we're talking about. I'm just kidding.
Well, and I think this is the essential thing that we need to look at and take away from this piece, is that we understand why it's bad for Thanos' solution to the problem. We understand the harm that it would cause to the entire universe. For me, it was seeing Spidey kind of fade away, and Tom Holland's call out to David Tennant's final line as a doctor is "I don't want to go," which that was heartbreaking for me. Mm-hmm. And I know it didn't hold the same emotional weight for you, but it did for me because I'm such a big Tennant fanboy that
Yeah, and his name is Peter Parker.
Yeah, and it's a lot of that is that seeing. Well, and being held by his father figure, by Tony, while he's fading out of existence, and Tony taking that so hard, and those father-son relationships. That's an easy emotional pull for a lot of us dads out there, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, and Tony, I mean, he probably is blaming himself right now for what happened because Peter wasn't supposed to be there. Like, he told Peter to stay behind. However, Peter still had the chance of dying either way. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like,
he was still going to fade away.
Yeah. Yeah.
I really see this as a kind of a Jonah story. I know we talked about this a little bit last week with Father Gabriel, and that I feel like Jonah sometimes is sitting and waiting for something to fail because we want it to fail. It's more of a Jonah without patience, is trying to enact the failure, trying to force God to take care of Nineveh. Then, instead of just, doing what God asked you to do in the first place, which was to go and say, hey, God's a little angry with you. If you kind of change that a little bit, then, it'll be okay. Mm-hmm. Where they did. And Jonah just sits outside and waits for it, them to be destroyed, and God says, no, they're fine. They did what I asked them to do. Yep. Which the only thing that God has asked us to do now is to love each other. And maybe, God will destroy the world because we failed to love each other, but that's more on the the lines of the evangelicals who decided, no, we're not going to love each other. We're going to make sure that the rapture happens. That's not loving.
No, not at all. Even though, and a lot of them will feel that it is being loving because they're the ones that are going to bring on what they believe would be saving a bunch of people.
Well, and I think this is a very bad worldview to have. Uh-huh. It's horrible because you see this in a lot of those cultures and a lot of that church culture that they don't want to believe in climate change, and they don't care about climate change because they're going to leave this world anyway. That's, a very harmful way of viewing things. It's also the world of purity culture and the world of all of these other things that are just extremely harmful to society. Yep. And I think that they saw their last chance to take control of society in Donald Trump when they realized that they've sold their souls, in essence, to gain control of society. Mm-hmm. But, that's just me.
I don't think it's just you, because there's been plenty of people out there who think the same way. I mean, how many times have you had people ask, like, why do evangelicals go behind Trump when he clearly does not have the same moral code as what a lot of them claim to have?
Yeah, it's kind of like anybody who backs up Thanos in this fight. Mm-hmm. Like, Thanos is not going to be the the solution to your problem. In fact, you're likely to be one of the half that gets erased from existence.
Yeah, because I don't think he had any set, like, I don't think he had any choices. Like, he didn't care. He just needed to make it happen.
Yeah.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe he did have some choice, which might explain why the majority of the, I can't remember Peter Quill's group.
Guardians?
Why all but one of the Guardians disappeared.
Nebula was the only one, or Rocket was the only one that was left. Yeah.
Yep. Because Nebula doesn't really count.
Yeah,
I don't think she's sort of kind of she's there.
Yeah, it was kind of the end of Guardians Volume 2 where she was.
Yeah, but still, like maybe he did have some mindset of like who he was going to destroy. I guess I don't know. Anyway, so of course at the end of the movie, they lost. Like the Avengers lost, like big time. Like, there was a certain point in time in the movie when I was just like, this isn't going to happen. Like, this isn't going to happen. As soon as he took out the time stone and put Vision's stone, what is that one?
The Mind Stone.
Yeah, as soon as he put the Mind Stone back together, I was just like, we're done. Like, there's no way to stop him now. Like, we can't stop him. And I kind of find it surprising, though, and I think this is why some people are so upset with the movie, is because Doctor Strange does say, like, we can defeat him. There is one way to defeat him. But he doesn't go about and tell Tony how to defeat him, really. Because at the very end, when Doctor Strange is fading away, he's like, this is the only way.
And I think this is something that we see a little bit more of in Strange's character from Doctor Strange movie, is that he is not going to be one that's going to be prone to laying out the plans for everybody. That he's just going to, just do it.
Mm-hmm. I can kind of see why, because maybe by him telling the plans, it's not actually going to be the future that he wants it to come out to be.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, this is something that I was just having a conversation with a friend of mine recently about Doctor Strange, is that I felt like Benedict Cumberbatch was the safe pick for Doctor Strange because of his work with Sherlock.
Yeah.
The problem with Sherlock is that Sherlock has some underlying insecurities.
Oh, yeah.
Where, he's not full bravado, but Doctor Strange is full bravado in the comics.
No, he knows he's the shit.
Well, and this is the thing, is that Benedict Cumberbatch, you can still see that there is still that base insecurity that he plays it with. And that I don't think that Doctor Strange has that. Doctor Strange in the comic books is just pure bravado.
Yeah.
Whereas that's why he and Tony kind of get along, because Tony has that base insecurity a little bit still.
Well, I think maybe with the movie Doctor Strange, he is still a little humbled by the experience of not being able to use his hands.
Yeah.
So maybe that's still being carried over. But anyway, it just kind of goes to show that, well, we know they're going to win somehow. Yeah. Because Doctor Strange even was like, no, this is the only way. Like, this is okay that I'm going away. Like, this, it's okay that it happened because you're going to be able to fix it, essentially. So even when all hope seemed lost, like everybody was going away, the panic was spreading across the whole entire theater. There's still a little bit of hope. There's still a little bit of a chance that it's going to turn out okay. And of course it's going to, because we have more movies coming out that starred the characters that disappeared. So
after the next Infinity War.
Yeah, well, after, yes. But we know it's going to happen eventually. But they're going to fix it.
Things are going to be different after that, though.
Oh, yeah. I think Tony is definitely going to just stop, being a superhero.
Well, besides the fact that Robert Downey Jr.'s contract is up.
Well, yeah, that too. But but I think that him actually seeing himself, like wanting himself to be a family man, is definitely going to change his tune. He's going to settle down.
and you heard it a little bit in Pepper calling him back at the very beginning, is that no, get back here right now, and I think that's kind of him hanging up the Iron Man suit after Infinity War 2.
Yeah. Well, she's always been like kind of against him being too superhero-y.
Yeah.
She's always the one in the background that's like, "No, Tony, you're not. You said you weren't going to do this anymore." And yeah.
Well, wondering if she's going to be an essential part of that. If she's going to be using the extremis stuff that she got from Iron Man 3.
I don't know, because from what I understand, they don't really want to work with Gwyneth Paltrow too much.
Well, we'll see.
We will see. Anyway, we're getting a little off track. So obviously one of the main themes here is that heroes don't always win.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
They did not win. No one was really expecting that, of course, like I said, but it was a hard lose. Like, it wasn't even they barely didn't win. Like, they lost hardcore, especially the fact that they lost over, I would say they lost probably over half. Did it equal out to be half of them equally, or was it more than half? I have a feeling it was more than half.
I think it was more than half, because almost the entire Guardians were gone.
Yeah. But, I mean, we're still cheering on for them, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we're still hoping and wishing them luck and wanting them to succeed. And that goes the same with our real-life heroes. When our real-life heroes don't win or they don't succeed in their task, like, we don't just, like, brush them aside and say, "Well, thanks for nothing, dude. Let me just kick you on the way out." Like, we still try to cheer them on and try to build them back up because we want to see them succeed.
Well, and that's the whole idea of allowing your leaders to be human beings, allowing grace for those who lead you. And this is something that I've advocated for in churches for a long time. Primarily because I was one of those leaders. I was a youth leader who, I was going through a lot of rough times, and there was not grace that was extended to me. There was not forgiveness that was extended to me. And I think this is something that, pastors, a lot of the time they face an uphill battle. And so many of them end up developing these anxiety disorders like my own.
Depression.
Because
isolation.
They have to be perfect.
Yeah.
They have to achieve that perfection every single time. And that's what is expected of them. There is no forgiveness when they don't achieve that perfection.
Yep. Yeah. But it's different with, like, say, firefighters or police officers. When they have a losing battle, like, we don't say, "Oh, they're not worthy of it," and they kick them aside. They're just like, "It's okay. Like, if you want to stay in the force, that's perfect. We'll keep you around. We'll try it. We'll do it next time."
Yeah.
So I just think it's kind of weird having that double standard. Like, why in some careers is it okay for you to lose and keep on going, but in other careers it's not?
Well, and I think that the level of failure is, well, that's something else that we've done with adolescents for a long time. Is we've told them that it's not okay to fail. We've told our children that it's not okay, that they have to achieve perfection, and that they basically have the weight of the entire world on them, is saying that, you have to live up to this standard of whatever it is, without saying, "Hey, it's okay to fail.
Yeah.
It's okay to just be. It's okay to just, find your own way in life." And I think that's something that, I keep reminding you that I want to do as a parent, is I want to tell my son, just be you. Just live your life. Don't worry about what anybody else puts on you. Don't worry about any of those expectations that people place on you. If you're smart, awesome. Let's develop those smarts and stuff like that. But don't be like that. Don't let that control your life.
Yeah.
Just be you.
And I mean, like I said before, my only goal for my son is for him not to be a jerk. Other than that, I really don't care what he does. Like, don't be a jerk. Oh, and he should be a little self-sufficient. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Self-sufficient and not be a jerk. 2 goals.
Well, I think this is something that Tony kind of places on Peter a little bit, and like saying that, no, you got to stay behind. When Peter wants to, be there and wants to help out, because, as he put it, he can't be a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man if there is no neighborhood.
And I like how he was like, "Well, you know what I mean." And
Yeah.
I was like, I knew exactly what you meant. You didn't have to add that in. Like, if there's no neighborhood to protect, what's the point of you being there? So
Exactly.
I get it. I get it. Don't worry, Peter. And I know we're going to cross a little bit of fandoms right now, but also, too, something that you shared on Facebook the other day, which I really liked, is something that Captain Picard has said in the past. Our wisdom wizard is what I like to call him sometimes, because he has some great one-liners that you're just like, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
But something that he
There are 4 lights. Sorry. That's not the line she was going for.
No, not it was not. But it actually, he said that it is possible to commit no mistakes and still lose. And this is not weakness. This is life.
And this is something that is taught in Starfleet Academy. This is the Kobayashi Maru. I mean, this is what the Kobayashi Maru teaches, is that, no matter what you do, you're going to lose. Mm-hmm. Unless you cheat like James T. Kirk. But, that's a different story for a different day. We'll say that, Picard is better than Kirk. But, that's just me.
Well, he is, but... But I think it is life. I mean, our life, we have definitely gone through some peaks and some very deep valleys.
Yeah.
But good has still happened from that. Like, a lot of the cases, if it weren't for those deep, dark crevices that happened in our life, we wouldn't have some of the good things that we have today.
Well, to take this even further into genre crossing territory here, is it's very much like the end of the Fellowship of the Ring, where they've lost. They've taken heavy losses to the Fellowship. Boromir is killed because Sean Bean played him, so of course he's going to get killed. I love how Peter Jackson did in that movie. By the way, I really feel like he did a whole George Lucasing of his career, is going back and doing The Hobbit, but that's a different story for a different day.
Yep.
I loved how he did a callback to that moment between Frodo and Gandalf in the movie. Is that I don't wish it came to me. That where he's talking to Gandalf about the ring, is that he wishes that it didn't come to him, that like
I didn't want this responsibility.
Exactly. And, Gandalf is saying, so do all who live to see such times. What we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given to us. I think this is a great setup here for the Avengers, is what they do with the time that they've lost. Yeah. That they took a huge and heavy loss. And this is why it makes me a little upset that there's only going to be 2 movies, and neither of them are going to be set in the time frame of in between the movies.
Nope.
Because I want to see what they do with the time that is given to them, with this loss, this heavy loss that they've taken.
Yeah, because there's definitely going to be a lot of planning. There's going to be a lot of meetings, a lot of sitting around the table, figuring out what to do. But that also kind of gives me hope, and it's a very human characteristic too, of like when you have been kicked down, why you don't have to stay down. You can, gather up. Sometimes you have to gather up friends. You have to gather up the troops to help you out. But you can bring yourself back into the light. And obviously that's going to happen. That's why I'm not worried. I think that's why I don't have any emotional connection to it. Because I'm just like, I know it's going to be okay.
That, here we go, another genre jump here. That life will find a way.
Sure, yes.
Sorry. My poor impression of Jeff Goldblum there.
Yes. But anyway.
He's part of the MCU, so...
Yeah, he is. You're right, he is. Well, maybe he's not anymore. We don't know. He could be dead.
But he killed a collector. So if they're brothers and you're doing half... Wouldn't one of the brothers still be alive?
Again, I don't know if that's how it works, because all of the Guardians except for one are gone.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
but none of them are related.
I know we could talk all about that, but I don't know if anything.
See, I want to know who's all gone. This is the thing.
Well, and the fact that Nick Fury
and Maria Hill both.
I wasn't
we've
sure
already given the spoiler alert.
Yeah, that both of them are gone too. So like I mean, if really they would have been, they're two peas in a pod, so
Yeah.
I don't see why.
But they're not related.
They're not related, but they still go together.
See, I'm basing this on relational lines.
There's no evidence of that, honey.
I know there's no evidence of that.
There's no evidence of that.
But speaking of the collector, here's a fun thing. Tobias Funke from Arrested Development was in the collector's room.
Because why wouldn't he be?
I thought it was hilarious. And I didn't find this out until it was one of those Easter eggs you missed videos on YouTube.
Yep. But anyway, I guess that's a part of what has made me who I am today is the fact that when I am in just like the darkest of times, I feel like in my life, sure, I take a moment and I allow myself to feel sad and depressed because that's completely healthy.
Yeah.
And then I just try to move forward.
Take the L, that we don't always have to have the W.
What?
The loss. Just take the loss, that we don't always have to have the win.
I've never heard of that phrase before.
It's a common phrase. It's probably because you don't watch sports.
You're right, I don't. Yeah. I don't watch sports.
It's a big sports theme, especially in like sports movies. That's how I know it is sports movies.
Sports. I'm just one of those people. I'm like, hey everybody, which team are we rooting for? All right, great. I'll root for them too. That's what I do. Or curling. I like watching curling. It's very fascinating.
Okay. Well, I think the big major principles that we can pull away from Avengers Infinity War, it's not part 1. I don't know what they're going to call part 2 because they said that they weren't going to announce the name of part 2 until everybody's kind of seen the movie so that they can so that they're not spoiling it for anybody.
Maybe it's going to be Harry Potter and the Infinity War.
That's genre jumping right there.
I would love that. Harry Potter comes in and he's just like, I'll just fix this mess.
They're going to jump universes.
Hermione's going to come in and be like, what did you guys do?
Emma Watson is going to reprise her role as Hermione. Mm-hmm. As a grown up Hermione. So.
Yep. She'll fix it.
But the principles that we take away from this parable, I think, is that there are other ways to fix a problem than just the one that you stubbornly hold to. Mm-hmm. That you should be open to other opinions. You should be open to listening to other voices. That maybe overpopulation may be a thing, which I don't think that we are overpopulated at this point in time. But it's something that we may need to take stock on is how much resources we consume. And especially with climate change and other things like that, that's something where we need to begin to allow other voices to say, this is how we fix the problem, rather than the ones that say, oh, climate change doesn't exist. Just keep on guzzling that gas.
Well, I kind of want to expand on this too, because I have a lot of thoughts on this. So one, when a lot of people think of overpopulation, they think that famine goes hand in hand, which is not the case. Most of the time when there's a famine that happens, it's not because of overpopulation, it's because of other factors. Like war, for example, it's a huge factor in famine. Sometimes like plant disease and that kind of stuff will also be a factor, but most of the time it has nothing to do with overpopulation. We can produce the food. We have the ability to produce food and keep people sustained. We have the ability to choose other resources to power our electronics, to get from point A to point B. We have the resources. We have the brains to do it. We have the smarts. We just don't want to.
Because it's too hard. And this is the thing, is that sometimes the right answer, the right solution, isn't going to be the easy one. It's going to be the one that takes a lot of work. Mm-hmm. And in some level, I do see that some people think that people are lazy, but I think people are willing to do the work when they actually understand the solution. They understand the problem and how we need to get to point B from point A.
Yep.
Whereas in this country, we give these, they put these things onto the solution saying, oh, it's more expensive to be green. It's more expensive to do this. It's more expensive to live in a green way, and it's really not.
Which is funny because a lot of companies are switching to greener solutions because it's saving them money.
Yeah, exactly. Turn off your monitor when you leave from work.
Yes. Simple thing, but it does make a difference. That and don't waste paper. Like I use scrap paper all the time. Like I'll reuse a paper until I cannot write a single thing left on it. But
the very, very underlying green message of Avengers Infinity War.
Who knew? Who knew? We didn't know we were going to go this way. Yeah. It just kind of happened.
And we also took the principle that sometimes it's okay to lose. That sometimes losing is a form of winning in its own way.
Yeah, and sometimes you got to lose in order to win.
Yeah. And I think this is especially with understanding the loss will help you to appreciate the power a little bit better.
Yeah.
I think that Tony's going to appreciate the fact that what the suit has meant, and that's why he's going to give it up after this.
Well, and I think he's going to appreciate what Peter can actually do, because Peter is smart, and he's actually finally acknowledged this in this movie. Like, yeah, that's the kid's idea. The kid watches movies.
Yeah. Yeah, the rapid depressurization to get rid of Ebony Maw.
Yeah, yep.
Which I thought he was really terrifying. Like, yeah, they underutilized him. Ebony Maw could have been in there a lot more. He was freaking terrifying.
Yeah, especially because Doctor Strange. Like, I would say that he is one of the most powerful folks.
But Ebony Maw kind of reminded me of an evangelical preacher, like a popular one. I'm not going to name names on the podcast, but I'll let you guys figure it out. Oh. But he just seemed terrifying because of that.
Well, and the way that he the way he talked too was very biblical. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like his phrases and words were very lyrical.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So anyway, that's just my point on that one. But he was smart.
It. Yeah.
Yeah. So those were the two things that we took away from it: is that we have to be open to other ways of solving problems, and sometimes losing is a way to win.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
All right, so let's wrap this up. Let's see. We had to change our feedback schedule because our upcoming schedule because we started watching Lost in Space, and I have to say, after half an hour of the first episode, it was highly, highly disappointing. Like, I'm sure that the actors get better over the course of time, but they had no chemistry. They're supposed to be a family, for goodness sakes.
No, and I don't think they didn't have a save the cat moment.
They didn't have a save the cat moment. It was just kind of like, oh, they're in a ship and they're playing cards, and the ship looks way too small on the outside to have as much as it has on the inside.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the TARDIS of the Jupiter missions.
Yeah, it was very, very weird. But like before we give out the feedback schedule, I just want to throw in there too. If you, listener, have something that you want us to talk about, please tell us, because it is getting to that point in the season where it's getting harder to find stuff.
It is, because so many of the good things are starting now, and I didn't really feel moved by a lot of the TV this season. There wasn't really any like really good TV or movies that we've seen or anything else that has just kind of jumped out and been like, hey, look at me, this is so good. Yeah. You should talk about me. So yeah, please give us some ideas of what to talk about.
Yeah. And please, make sure that we'll try, if they're in the theaters right now, we'll try, but we prefer things on.
Like Deadpool 2 is going to be a little bit hard for us to pull the moral philosophy out of Deadpool 2. We could, but
you never know. We might be able to.
Yeah. We'll give a call out to Ryan Reynolds to see if he'll be on the show. No, I doubt it.
I'll ask him.
Okay. Mm-hmm. He did reply to one of your tweets once.
Mm-hmm. Yep, he did.
So anyway, here is what's coming up. Next week, we're going to be doing season 2, episode 1 of Handmaid's Tale. And oh my goodness, that is just still a hard show to watch. They put out 2 episodes on Tuesday. don't watch them in the same day.
Also, you probably already know, but we should give out trigger warnings.
Yeah.
Like every trigger warning you could possibly think of.
Yeah.
In Handmaid's Tale.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's not for everybody.
Exactly. Then the week after that, we will be doing Westworld Season 2, Episode 1. We're doing these beginning episodes because we're nothing's ended. Mm-mm. So we're really going to lean heavily on our predictions and what we see going to be happening in the season from the first episode.
Yep.
After that, we're going to really, really try to find a way to watch Legion streaming. Hulu is not going to be getting them for a long time yet.
Which makes me very mad.
Yeah, so we're going to try to find a way to watch that. So hopefully we'll be getting that soon because Legion was fantastic. Season 1 was amazing. Great TV. Go back and watch that. So anyway, if you have something for us to watch and to talk about, give us feedback. You can give us feedback on social media. We are on Facebook. We are on Reddit. We are on Twitter. We're on Tumblr. You can also call us at 720-372-3879 or give us a text at that same number, 720-372-3879. So yeah, that's a Google Voice number. So leave us a message. Even if you want to talk about what we talked about with the Avengers or with any of the other episodes that we've already done, you can do that as well. We would love that. We would love to have a listener episode where we talk to you guys. Yeah. We talk to you about what you want to talk about in our episodes. So find us on social media. You can also email us at honestfaithconvos@gmail.com. You can find us on our website at thehonestfaith.com. And when you're there, you can also pick up my books and use them to throw it at people. And yeah.
Yeah, if you have a wobbly table, put it underneath there.
Yeah, one last thing is that we are playing through Divinity Original Sin, so you can catch that on YouTube if you have not caught up with us on that. We are now on part 18-ish, so we did skip a bit today because the microphone was on the way and just got a new Xbox, and so we got rid of the Kinect. So we have a different setup now.
Yeah.
So yeah, come find us in all those places. Come join the conversation with us and let us know what you think about what we're doing.
Yeah.
You can find us on most major podcast platforms. Leave us a review. Leave us, a 1-star or a thumbs up or whatever it is. So, yeah, let us know that you're out there. So with all of that being said, we invite you to come and join the conversation.
Bye.